Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Lyrilusc Yugioh deck profile for post-Synchro Storm. This is actually one of the 3 decks that was released with new support in the Synchro Storm booster set. Funnily enough, it is actually not a Synchro deck. The Lyrilusc revolve around rank 1 Xyz summoning, but their new rank 1 Xyz, Ensemble Robin, is a pretty broken Xyz monster that we got from the latest set, but we also got a bunch of new Lyrilusc monsters for the main deck, just to make this a true powerhouse of a deck. I would definitely say that they were probably one of the more under-supported decks from the 4 different dimension counterparts of Yuzu from the Arc 5 anime, but with this new support, it definitely does help to put it in the top, definitely in the powerhouse comparison compared to Lunalights, Melodious, and even Wind Witches with the support they have. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So we'll go ahead and start off with the main deck, going with our new monsters we received from the Synchro Storm set. First, we are running 3 of the Lyrilusc Celestine Wagtail. If this card is special summon, you can add 1 Lyrilusc spell or trap from your deck to your hand. If this card's in your graveyard, you can target 1 Lyrilusc Xyz monster you control and attach this card to it as material. And you can only use each effect of Lyrilusc Celestine Wagtail once per turn. So your different Lyrilusc monsters definitely do benefit from having additional Xyz material. So being able to just reattach this card onto that monster as Xyz material is a big plus there, but also having search power for plenty of the new Lyrilusc cards we run in the deck, including the very powerful Lyrilusc Bird Call, is an immense help just for the actual playstyle of the deck altogether. So that's why you definitely want to run 3 of this card. So even if you use the effect to attach onto it and you have another copy next turn, you can just keep on attaching these monsters onto that Xyz monster you have. With the other new card being the Lyrilusc Barrel Canary. If this card is in your hand, you can target 1 Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard, special summon both this card and that monster. Also, you cannot special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of this turn, except for Xyz monsters, and you can only use this effect of Lyrilusc Barrel Canary once per turn. A wind Xyz monster that was summoned using this card as material gains the effect. It gains 200 attack. Also, as control, cannot switch, making it so your opponent can't actually take that monster to use against you, but it's just an easy setup card with any of your 2 Lyrilusc monsters to then overlay together into your rank 1 Xyz, with the big go-to card being Lyrilusc Ensemble Robin, a powerhouse just needing 2 or more level 1 monsters, which we'll go over when we get to the extra deck. The additional Lyrilusc monsters from the Maximum Crisis set, so it's definitely been a while since we've had actual Lyrilusc support. Still 3 of the Lyrilusc Turquoise Warbler. If you control no monsters, you can special summon this card from your hand. If this card is special summoned from your hand, you can special summon 1 Lyrilusc monster from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Turquoise Warbler once per turn. So it's a special summon, doesn't take up the normal summon, which a good majority of these cards, even if they do have a normal summon, just give you an additional setup for your cards. Turquoise Warbler is that option for the special summon, and then also just the additional special summon of a Lyrilusc monster from your hand or graveyard, be it any of the additional setup cards you may need, including the ones we spoke of already, Canary and Wagtail both included. The next Lyrilusc card we run is Lyrilusc Sapphire Swallow. If you control a Wing Beast monster, you can special summon both this card and 1 level 1 Wing Beast monster from your hand. You can only use this effect of Sapphire Swallow once per turn. A Wind Xyz monster summoned with this card gains the effect if it's Xyz summon. You can target 1 Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard and attach it to this card's Xyz material. So you have the Wagtail for the additional option of attaching onto your Lyrilusc. So you want to go for another one that you can just attach onto this card as the additional target. We have more Lyrilusc monsters, which I always believe would be the big part of what made this deck so broken, having additional Lyrilusc monsters to use against your opponent. So having 5 in total for the main deck makes it so we can max out all these numbers for more and more Lyrilusc monsters to use. With the last of the Lyriluscs being 3 Lyrilusc Cobalt Sparrow. If this card is special summon, you can add 1 level 1 Wing Beast type monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Cobalt Sparrow once per turn, and a Wind Xyz monster that was summoned using this card in the field as material gains the effect. Your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. So with the option to make it so your opponent can't change the possession of the card, they can't target it with card effects, it makes for a pretty good protection option against your opponent, and just the added power-ups that you can get with the more and more Xyz materials you have from your Lyrilusc monsters. And being able to search out a level 1 Wing Beast gives us a hand trap target in the form of DD Crow, which can easily disrupt a good number of banishments from our opponent's graveyard also. For some of the more generic level 1 support we run for the deck, because we're not really limited with the restrictions of what we need for the rank 1 monsters in the extra deck, I run 3 Yugioh. It may not be a Wing Beast monster, but it is a card that can just target a level 1 in the graveyard, then use it for the overlay, gaining the additional monster effect from the card we targeted after we use it for the Xyz play. And you're going to use it for that option, because even after you overlay it, you won't get the banish negative effect of Yugioh afterwards, after you're having the Xyz monster on the field to use. With the other 3 of we run in the deck being the 3 DD Crow. It is a searchable hand trap in the deck. It is a Wing Beast monster, level 1, that we can use for the Xyz play if need be, but it's mostly here, like I said, to disrupt our opponent's graveyard plays. Whatever they may have can easily be taken away with this quick effect of just discarding this card to the graveyard to target that card in our opponent's graveyard and banish it. With the last of the monsters for the main deck being 2 Jester Confit. You can only control 1 Jester Confit. You can special summon this card from your hand in attack position. If summoned this way during your opponent's next end phase, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, return both that target and this target to the hand. So it's just a special summon. You summon Jester Confit onto the field, and then you have the rest of your level 1 plays to go with, being an additional monster that you can just detach and overlay with to go into your rank 1 Xyz. I only run 2 though, since you can only control 1 Jester Confit. If you when you basically open up multiple copies of this card, you really won't be able to use any of the other ones for any of your plays, even if you special the 1 and then attempt to normal summon it, so you can only control 1 Jester Confit. And that is it for the main deck monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I do want to run 3 Lyrilusc Bird Call. I know it's more of a pricey card to obtain compared to Overlay Region, but this is a card you can use until you get the Lyrilusc Bird Calls. It's definitely needed in the deck. You take 1 Lyrilusc monster from your deck, either add it to your hand or send it to the graveyard. Then you can special summon 1 Lyrilusc monster with a different name from your hand. You go and activate 1 Lyrilusc Bird Call per turn. So being able to either add it to the hand or send it to the graveyard can also set up other Lyrilusc cards for us to use for those plays. And with that setup, you get more and more monsters to then be able to attach onto it. And this card is searchable, making it that much more of a plus with our Lyrilusc Celestine Wagtail. I also run 2 Lyrilusc Bird Sanctuary, this continuous spell, being able to target 2 Wing Beast Xyz monsters you control and attach one of those monsters to the other one. Transferring the materials just makes it so we can have bigger numbers for that one monster. If you control an Xyz monster with 3 or more materials, you can draw 1 card. I always like to at least have one of these continuous spells on the field. It's another Lyrilusc searchable spell, so having it with Wagtail, but having the 2 option, it could be a target that our opponent will try to destroy. That's why I like to at least run 2 of it in the deck. And I also run, for some of the more generic level 1 support, 3 Where Art Thou. If you control a face-up level 1 monster, add 1 level 1 monster from your deck to your hand, and during the end phase of this turn, take 2,000 damage if you do not normal summon that added monster. So you have plenty of ways to at least special summon cards onto the field in the form of your Jester Confit, or even just your Lyrilusc monsters for the special summon altogether. So if you at least normal summon it, even if you don't, you're just taking the 2,000 points of damage. Sometimes that search, just is a much better play to go for. With this card, being able to have that option to search out any of the level 1s you may need for your play with no restrictions, also aside from the burn damage you'll take. For the 1-ofs, I also run 1 for 1. This card can, special summon out the good majority of the main deck. 1 Foolish Burial to set up more Lyriluscs in the graveyard for us to use. 1 Monster Reborn, special summon target for our Xyz plays. And lastly, the 1 Call by the Grave, being able to shut down our opponent's hand traps to use against our opponent from trying to stop our own special summons of our Lyrilusc monsters. And that is it for the spells. Moving on now to the traps. I'm running 2 Lyrilusc Phantom Feathers. You target 1 Lyrilusc monster you control. The attack of all monsters your opponent currently control become that monster's current attack. Also, their level and ranks become 1. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack on your Lyrilusc monster, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Your monster's attack becomes the opponent's monster attack until the end of this turn. You can use each effect of Lyrilusc Phantom Feathers once per turn. This is the card I like to use to at least attempt to get over some of my opponent's more pesky cards, and also giving us the option for the attack boost of our opponents to become that of our current monster's attack, meaning we can boost up the power of our Lyrilusc monsters by attaching more materials onto it and then swinging over our opponent's monster with that 1 Lyrilusc monster. And also for the traps, I'm finishing off with 3 Harpy's Featherstorm. If you control a Wing Beast type monster, until the end of this turn, negate any monster effect your opponent activates. If you control a Harpy monster, it doesn't really matter for the second effect since this is a Lyrilusc deck, but it stops opponent's monsters, so then we can just go right in with our Lyrilusc monsters and hit over those monsters without having to worry about any effect that those cards use also. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. I'm running 2 of the Lyrilusc Ensemble Robin. You need 2 or more level 1 monsters. It gains 500 attack for each material attached onto it. If your opponent special summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can detach 1 material from this card, then target one of those special summon monsters, return it to the hand. And if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can target 1 other Lyrilusc monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So at least keeping the plays live by giving you more resources to use. The bounce back effect is also not a once per turn. So as long as you have the materials to detach, you can keep bouncing back your opponent's monsters that they summoned onto the field as long as they special summon it. So normal summon will definitely be your worst fear, but most of the time the big monsters will come out with the special summon mechanic. I also run 2 Lyrilusc Promenade Thrush. 2 or more level 1 monsters again. It gains 500 attack for each material attached onto it, and you can detach 1 from this card to target a spell or trap your opponent controls and shuffle it into the deck. At the start of damage step, if another monster you control battles, you can detach any number of materials from this card. That monster you control gains 300 attack for each material detached from this card. So this takes care of these spell and traps, while the Ensemble Robin takes care of the monsters. You have both options covered with your rank 1 plays in this deck. So I like to run 2 of each, so you always have those options to go into multiples of each card using this deck. I also run some of the more setup card in the deck, and that is Lyrilusc Recital Starling, running 3 of this card. If it succeeds summon, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field. It gains 300 attack and defense for each material attached to this card, and once per turn you can detach 1 from this to add 1 level winged beast monster from your deck to your hand, and all battle damage you take from battles involving this Exceed Summon card is also inflicted to your opponent. That is the damage you can hit pretty hard with against your opponent, but also the search powers where this card definitely shines, being able to just continue the plays for all your different Lyrilusc monsters that you run in the extra deck. I also run 2 Lyrilusc Assembled Nightingale, another one of the older cards. It gains 200 attack for each material attached onto it. It can attack directly while it has material, and it can attack a number of times each battle phase up to the number of materials attached to it. And once per turn, you can detach 1 from this card until the end of this turn. Lyrilusc monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. So a protection card to use with all of our other ones. Even if our opponent does normal summon, they can't really get over Ensemble Robin as long as we have the Assembled Nightingale on the field. For other Xyz monsters, I run the 1 Kikinagashi Fucho for more of the protection against our opponent using this Wing Beast rank 1. And lastly, the 1 Divine Arsenal Zeus for the attach option to then have the protection against our opponent's cards by sending all other cards on the field, which the good majority of the time, aside from the continuous spell, you should only have other monsters. So using a Lyrilusc that at least attacked into our opponent can then go into this boss monster also with no limitations. For the rest of the extra deck, we're just running Link monsters. So the 1 Link Karibo, if you just don't have the option for multiple monsters, sometimes just going into this can be a pretty good defensive play. Also 1 Great Fly, 1 Win the Wind Charmer, and 1 Underclock Taker for the rest of the Link monsters that we run in the extra deck for the wind power boost against our opponent. And as for some of the go-to plays in the deck, revolving around just what you can make with 2 Lyrilusc monsters and the additional special summon, and also with the overlay option you have with these cards, having your first card to play can give you the search power needed with Recital Starling to then search out another Lyrilusc monster for that play in the form of Barrel Canary, summoning out that other one for your overlay into another Lyrilusc monster on the field, and then also setting up the search power you have with Bird Sanctuary to target 1 other Xyz and attach it onto that monster will not only power up your Ensemble Robin to 2500 attack, but give it 5 bounces against your opponent, and most of the time if they try to normal summon, that 1 monster won't be enough to get over the 2500 attack, so they will have to resort to special summons for detaching for you to stop your opponent's play. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed the video. As always, until next time, I'll definitely be looking to update the final deck for the Synchro Storm Booster set, which is the Chevalier de Fleur deck with the new support. Just looking to gather a little bit more of the support for that deck, but look forward to it. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.